All right, so is My Notary active? This can be very helpful when it comes to just understanding for yourself and even other notaries if you're getting something notarized. But it's going to go a little bit more deeper. You can check any North Carolina notary's status on the Secretary of State website. That's a feature they added to make it much easier for anyone to confirm that the notaries that are before them are actually active, showing that they're legally in the system and approved to actually notarize documents. And that again helps safeguard the public when they use that feature on the website, as well as us as notaries to make sure that we're in good standing as well if there's ever question about our position. So, welcome everyone. Today we are again addressing a question that seems simple but has deep implications. Is my notary active? While many people think this just refers to having a current commission from the Secretary of State, we are going to look at the big idea that being active is a state of constant legal compliance and professional readiness. It's about verifying your authority before every single transaction begins to protect both yourself and the public. So, again, being active is about legal compliance, professional readiness, and verifying authority before the transaction begins. Something, again, that we can all take in consideration as a notary public. The definition of active. So the first step in any verification is the official check. You should always know how to navigate the North Carolina Secretary of State website to verify a commission, but we must go beyond the digital record. An active notary is one who is legally present and following the personal appearance rule. You are active when you are actively upholding your oath of office and ensuring you aren't under any disciplinary actions that would compromise your ministerial duties. So, all of those things you want to take note when it comes to General Statutes 10B20, paragraph C1. There are some notaries that are under, again, disciplinary actions or suspension, or they could actually be under investigation. And oftentimes, when they are given that warning that they are under investigation, they are not supposed to be notarizing anything until that investigation has come to its completion with the findings of if they are able to be clear to go forward or if there's other measures of discipline that will be taking place. So again, many notaries have been reported recently with charging more than they're supposed to. They're being again investigated on those findings, and again, if they are guilty, they will have their commission suspended, not suspended, but revoked. So revoked is a lot more permanent than been on a suspension. So that is something that, again, notaries got to make sure they're in compliance, understanding our laws for North Carolina, so that they can make sure there is no violations been made to have anyone report them for wrongdoing. So there's a case study one, the expired ID dilemma. So let's look at a common hurdle, the expired ID. A client might be in a rush and claim that because they are the same person, the expiration date shouldn't matter. However, per General Statutes 10B3, our duty is to require current, satisfactory evidence. Accepting an expired ID isn't just a small oversight, it's a violation of your active duty to properly verify identity. Your professional path here is a firm but respectful refusal, ensuring you don't cross into giving legal advice while standing your ground on compliance. So if you go through making sure you understand, we as notaries were responsible to require current satisfactory evidence of identification. I spoke with a notary earlier today on this subject matter, and when it comes to credible witnesses, it's different than a subscribing witness. Those are totally different positions. And a credible witness is a substitution to a state issued ID, like a license, um, learner's permit, or a federal ID, like a passport. A credible witness is used in that stand where they are vouching for that person's identification because they know that person really well when it comes to the principal signer that may not have an ID on them. And the notary knows that credible witness really, really well. So there's no problem with them actually trusting what their testimony will be under oath because they do have to be placed under oath. There is no wiggle room about that when they are vouching for another person's identification. Why accepting expired ID violates the active duty to verify identity properly? Because again, that is the number one rule for us to actually make sure there's no doubt of who is actually signing the document that we're actually notarizing for. So we are again protecting the general public when it comes to someone fraudulently taking someone else's identity, possibly in a situation like this. So it's very important for us to do our due diligence and not feel as if though, oh, they sound like, they were the person that belonged on this document, even though they didn't have an ID. Criminals are going to be criminals and they're going to actually say great things to make you feel like they may actually be on the up and up, but we have a duty and we have to comply to exactly what the rules are so we can try to make sure we're not putting someone else in harm's way because we are not sticking to what the law says. There's no wiggle room. Okay, we have to again go straight from the book of what the law says and follow those things through. And so when it comes to the professional path, refusing to act respectfully without providing legal advice, again, standing on compliance and knowing exactly what we are responsible for doing, that's all we have to let them know is that by law, that's what we're following, and I cannot move forward with notarizing your document. If you are able to bring me a valid ID, if you are able to um, provide a credible witness that I know that knows you, that will be again a exception to what options they have. But without those things, then we're not going to move forward with that process. So again, you have to learn know how to address people when you know that you can't move forward and try not to be too intimidated because that is something that people can see that it could be a weakness for us and they may try to do other things or say other things to make us feel like we're compelled to move forward. So again, we are not obligated ever to notarize anything. And if you're not sure about something, do not move forward. That will protect you and anyone else that could be harmed if you did. Okay. So when it comes to case study two, the estate planning paperwork discrepancy. In estate planning, the stakes are incredibly high, and if you notice discrepancies in complex documents, the pressure to just get it done can be intense. You must remember that as a ministerial official, you aren't an attorney. Notarizing problematic documents puts everyone at risk. The best move when things don't look right is to step back, suggesting they consult an attorney isn't being difficult. It is ensuring the documents they are signing are actually valid and legally sound. So we're trying to help the public, even when they feel maybe that we're trying to give them a hard time or we don't know our job. That could be some of the backlash you may hear from frustrated customers that just want to get this done. However, there are certain rules, okay, that must be followed by the law in order for us to move forward if we can help them. So again, as long as we can explain to them again what their options are, they have options. They can consult with an attorney or make sure they understand that we can't move forward if we're telling them that we cannot. And again, they may not respect you for telling them what you're not going to do, but at the end of the day, you have a decision that you are able to make that's going to help protect you at the end of the day, even if they're going to be upset by it. So, again, just trying to make sure that you are not giving them any advice other than to talk to an attorney as a result of making sure that they are, um, I should say, that the attorney can actually answer questions that we as notaries cannot about the document. That if there's discrepancies, that as one of our paralegals that's in the audience have shared, she may be able to again say, well, I do have an attorney that I work with. You can actually speak with them, but I don't feel comfortable with notarizing this document. Even she can't give advice because she's not a licensed attorney. So it doesn't matter what capacity you are, in addition to being a notary, unless you are a licensed attorney, we cannot give advice and go further on with information to that customer without breaking the law. So the goal is to make sure that we can share with them exactly what their options are. And then we have case study number 3, the Notario Publico confusion. And I know that we have talked about this at least twice this year, but again, it can help with just bringing it back to our understanding for those that may not have been present or seen some of the previous videos. So if a Spanish speaking client approaches you because they believe you are a Notario Publico, you or who can draft legal documents for their home country, we have to do the following. If the client feels you are being unhelpful or stuck up when you explain you cannot draft the documents, we have to again clarify and be able to help them understand we're notaries public in the state of North Carolina for the United States, and we operate differently than in their native country. In a lot of Spanish culture in their countries, a notary public, known as a notario publica, is considered a person who can actually legally give them advice, draft documents, and notarize documents all in one. So they're looked upon like a public defender or a public attorney, in a situation where they operate differently than what we can do here in the States. So we just have to make sure that they understand we are not the same, and they will need to consult with an attorney directly for drafting documents or explaining the documents to them that we cannot because we're not licensed attorneys. So the importance of clearly posting, I am not an attorney. If you have a brick and mortar, if you are in an office, you want to have that very clear if you're a notary, so that that can actually hopefully help you if someone comes to you in this capacity, thinking you can actually help them a little bit more than what we really can. Um, you want to remain active and by being helpful with going to your resources, and referring them to the proper legal channels, protecting both the client and your commission when you may deal with someone, again, that thinks that we can do more than what we can actually do by our commission. We're not licensed, we're commissioned. It's a big difference when it comes to what our commission does as a public official versus a licensed attorney. The takeaways. So you want to verify and don't assume. Always confirm commission status via the Secretary of State website when in doubt. Compliance is authority. A notary's true power comes from strictly following the North Carolina Notary Manual, not from bending the rules to help. And again, if you have friends and family that says, you know me, you're good, you want to make sure that you're not compelled to feel that you're going to bend the rules just because. Again, you have to remember what integrity is, doing the right thing even when others are not watching. So you want to make sure that you're holding yourself up to that highest standard when it comes to what other people are also going to be looking at when it comes to holding you to a high standard. So the goal is to make sure that you're always following the law. And then active professionalism. Being an active notary means being prepared, impartial, and ready to refuse acts that do not meet the legal standards of the state. Okay, so all of those things are beyond just actually making sure you're still within your commissioning time frame. It's all about really staying active, knowing exactly what laws have been changed, what's updated, so that you are being compliant always. All right. Some people can hold their commission for 5 years, but never step into any notary chat or look into any of the updates that are been emailed to them to actually understand and know it a lot more. Okay, so active means just like working out. You have to be consistent with this in order for you to really um, incorporate the information and regurgitate it when it comes to us doing our job. So again, it's beyond just holding the commission. You have to actively be engaged and really knowledgeable in the way of knowing how to find your resources to get the information to do your due diligence for the public that does rely on our expertise. And so we're going to turn this over to our audience. So for those that are looking at the replay, again, the goal is for you guys to subscribe to the channel and also like and share with other notaries, your family that may want to consider being a notary. This can help them be a little bit more well versed with what is that all about. You know, it's more than us just stamping a piece of paper. Okay, so again, it's a big deal, and I want everyone to always acknowledge how big of a deal this is when we have an again actual date acknowledging notaries of all of the U.S. Okay, so again, that's a beautiful thing to know that we are recognized in that way, and we want to make sure we're constantly supporting. So please do support the channel. Um, Always know that you can get a lot of information and support here, and you always have the Secretary of State that has resources also. So these are again additional ways that you can always improve, staying active as we cover tonight on exactly what that really does mean. Okay, so I hope you guys will continuously stay active, stay engaged, and stay always be learning. Training is always something that you have access to through the website. So if you go to ncnotarytraining.education, you'll be able to find many things that you can actually participate in and learn something new. Again, we have connections. Please do make sure you take the time to make the connection with the people who can definitely help you further yourself based on what that is